From now, I will be making the textures. Pixel Mixer!
What is this? Blender, please come back. Please. Blender!
Hello guys, welcome to a new exciting video for Blender. Yes, you heard that right. So this time we're actually not doing Pixel Mixer, we are actually properly doing Blender this time. So last video I actually ended up shedding a little bit on Blender. Yeah, I don't know if the Blender community actually did see it, which is a pretty stupid thing for me to do since my whole shtick is actually Blender. My whole channel is actually centered around Blender, so I don't know what was in my head when I said that. But here I am trying to make a little bit of a redemption for Blender's texturing powers, because I do actually think I was able to pull off the best techniques, at least that I know at this point in time, that Blender can actually have. There are some more things that we'll do in another video, and I do actually kind of hint on that. But right now, the way to start is, and I do also make a comparison between the two textures that I have for the body, because that's what we do in this video. And of course, just as I said last time, if you want to see the conclusion and which one I think it's better, and also if you want to decide already and actually just look and, you know, give a comment with what you think it's better, it's a chapter. You can just click on it, go to the conclusions and see it. I personally think you should stick around because I think it's a surprising both way to do things, and also it's going to be a surprising result. But I think you should actually see how we get there, because it's a lot. And I think it's a lot of good information, really, and it will help you understand how to texture, especially if you want to use Blender as your main tool. Because I think Blender has a lot of skills in texturing among, well, everything else, that it can actually pull off maybe some of the best textures you would ever see. So without further ado, please, before we start a video and before you will actually see if I'm able to do a better texture than I was able to do in Pixel Mixer, for me, click the like button if you think this video is gonna be good, and especially if you see the textures and you think they're actually good. Also leave a comment which texture you preferred and which texture program do you actually prefer, and of course, just as always, subscribe to this channel for more content. I will actually come up with way more texturing methods and also modeling more stuff. I have a lot of videos in my mind, so hopefully I'm going to be able to do it all with you guys. So without further ado, let's actually get into the video. Also, before I actually get into the video, you should also stick around till the end. So I have a new chapter which I'm gonna make its own separate section, probably in all videos from now on, with bloopers. It's times where I was just either confused, either super stupid, either I just made mistakes and I thought they were funny. You can find them there. So go have fun. Now actually let's go to the video. Oh, the first thing that I have to say is please excuse me for not posting on Wednesday. I know that's my usual day for posting, but I actually did have some issues at work that I had to solve. And because of that, I actually had my, whole day feel, and I couldn't actually record. And that's why the video is one day late. So the things that I did, so I did record a little bit before, but I had to, redo everything. Is to actually come here, and I did duplicate the high poly folder with all the body parts that we have, right? And you just duplicate them because we will create textures in Blender for those exact parts. And really that is, well, kind of it. Now, what we have to do, we will work firstly just on the body for now. And what you really have to do with this is actually to remember a little bit. If you did a beginner tutorial with a train, you will know some of these steps. So we will need to actually prepare what we do. First, I would recommend you to name the body part, the body materials in a way you actually remember them. Like, I know they're separate from, you know, the Quixel Mixer one. I didn't name them Body Blender to actually remember that. It's actually pretty important because you might get confused later on. Another thing you have to do is actually you need to make sure that you are in cycles, and we will actually work a lot of the times in shading in the render mode, just for you to know that. So what will we actually use? First, we will need the polygon add-on for actual good materials, because we can get a lot of good free materials from Polygon. Also, I'm sorry if I'm screaming or breathing too much in your mic. Also, Blender Kit, again, really good materials. I do totally recommend it. It's super helpful for everyone. Or if you want and you don't want neither of these, you can go to Holy Haven. There are some others that I will and probably might recommend later on, but for now, these three should be pretty viable options for what we have to do. So what we'll actually do the first time is actually this. Let me actually search for like a gold. So I have a metal gold here, which is pretty fine. Make sure you don't have anything selected and just import the 2K version of this. And with that actually done, we can actually come in here. Our body is already UV unwrapped. We kind of have everything ready to begin with. And what you need to actually do is Shift A, go to Group, and you will see here the metal gold paint. 2K, take it, and we will have a very big node. And now with that node, we will also need a node called Texture Coordinate. And we will set the UV in the UV here of the node. So basically, this way the node will know that it has to use our UV information from the body to actually put the material right. And now connect the base color, connect the metalness, connect the roughness, and for the normal, first use a normal map and then actually connect it to the normal of the body. And now you can go into material mode and see what we get, which is actually a pretty good material, a pretty good, gold material for our body. So with that actually being done, what we can do at this point in time, it's actually do a little bit of detailing. So if you do remember, here are the two big differences between Blender's way of working with textures versus Quixel Mixer's way. Quixel Mixer uses a layer-based node, right? We just get layers on top of layers, and that's kind of it. Blender basically does the same thing. The only thing is you have to understand how to translate the nodes that we see in front of us into this layering method. It's a little hard for beginners and even for intermediates, really, because it's not as easy, it's not as intuitive. So, don't beat yourself over if you don't get it from the get-go. I'll be totally honest, for a long time I didn't really get it. Mainly the big reasoning behind it was the fact that Blender has a very weird way to work. So actually it's not weird, it's just different, right? So to get to understand the node system that Blender has and translate it to layering, I actually had to get to use a layer-based node to totally understand how Blender works. And really, it's then when I got it, and then I was like, oh, now what Blender does makes so much sense. It's just you do it way different, which again, yes, that's kind of the whole thing. Now, another thing I didn't do, and I realized barely now, I have to actually make sure that these parts are also... Oh, I didn't activate my screencast for you to be able to see. Now you should be able to see my keys. So use L with sim selection, so that actually will make our selection just a little bit faster, so that we actually move a little bit more efficiently. So here is the separation I kind of needed. Right now we're going to concentrate only on the main part of the body, so the golden part, right? So for that to actually happen, we need to do a few things, and I'm actually going to talk about them before we do them. What exactly we need to actually get this body right are, well, 3 or 4 things, really, nothing too crazy with it. First, I would suggest to get a curvature and an edge mask. Second, an ambient occlusion mask. Then we actually will need a third mask that's just gonna be like over detail. You'll kind of see what I'm talking about when we get there. And fourth would be actually texture paints like stickers and again stuff that we did use also for Quixel Mixer's version, because it's actually helping a lot. Now, one of the things I really wanted to talk about is the curvature for this one, because the curvature is usually gotten really easily. Now, for a more maybe comprehensive, or just if you want to follow him as well, that's where I learned how to do this, so it's gonna be super similar to begin with. But Kaizen tutorials, at least the shader video, absolutely fantastic. He's doing great, and he's an amazing teacher. So the first thing we would actually need is a geometry node, right? The geometry node is not that hard to understand, right? What you actually do need, let me just move this a little bit because I can barely see. So what you can actually do with this, it's actually, if we're going to look at all these, you will see that each node gives us different views. It's because each node gives us a different information. Now the information we want to actually get the curvature map is the pointiness. But the pointiness, of course, is not good enough without a color ramp for us to actually be able to, you know, kind of tell it where we want it to be, but it's not really working. The reason it's not working is because we're in shader mode, which we shouldn't be. The only way you can see this is if you're in cycles, again, and in render mode. So it's not working in Eevee, and it's definitely not gonna work if you stay in shader mode, so always change this. And now you can actually check this out, and it doesn't really look right now, does it? And I was super perplexed about it. So again, I did try to record last night a little bit, and I actually got to the point where I recorded this and it did not work, and I actually kind of freaked out because I thought I did something wrong, or the UVs are wrong, or Blender kind of had, you know, a bug that, you know, now corrupted the whole file, and I actually got pretty scared. But it's actually none of that. Something I forgot to consider is actually, and let me do this, so Control 2, and I will add basically a subdivision with 2 levels. And you might wonder why I would do that. Well, here is why. I think you can see it way better now. So with the subdivision surface, as you can actually tell, because of the more geometry the subdivision gives, the pointiness is able to actually do a much better job with a curvature. However, without it, because we don't have enough geometry, even though this is theoretically our high poly thing, it still doesn't have a lot of geometry to begin with, and this is kind of all it can give us. It's not a lot of information to work with, and it's definitely not enough to actually do the curvature properly. And this is, in my opinion, where Quixel Mixer kind of owns Blender a little bit. Blender has to kind of get around these kind of problems. Quixel Mixer, however, as you did see, computes. I think it might be the algorithm that computes the curvature. I am not really sure what it is, but it's just Quixel Mixer is able to actually do your curvature almost flawlessly with really low poly geometry, which is super handy. However, Blender cannot really do it, so we cannot really do a curvature mask. However, we can actually jump to the edge mask, which is actually pretty easy to do. I don't know why I deleted it. We still need the geometry node. We will also need a bevel node. And for some of you, bevel, you know, might seem pretty crazy to use. However, again, please follow the Quixel Mixer video that I did, especially the last one, because if you do remember, we actually do use well, bevel and blur, right? The way that works is in a mask, right? They basically take the white value and they blur that value. And bevel, it's basically doing the same thing as blur, only a little different. It's a different computation. So it basically, bevel, it's, well, what it says, really, it's looking for the, for the rounded corners, for the beveled corners. Basically it bevels the information you give it. And here we actually want to tell Blender to take the bevel, so to basically get the rounded corners, or what it thinks it's rounded corners, and also to use something from the geometry node, and with that information actually give us the edges. Now the way to do that, it's actually pretty simple. We will need only one more vector node, a vector math node, which we'll set to multiply. What we need to do, and again, remember, we did use this kind of stuff before. We used noise, and right afterwards was either bevel or blur multiplied with the noise we had. So it's kind of the same process, only it's with node-based instead of layer-based stuff. So we actually will want the bevel, which we'll put it right here in the upper part, and then we'll actually use the normal information. And instead of multiply, we can actually put this to a dot product. And we can actually see what it gives us, and it doesn't really look that great. Now here you can use, again, a color ramp. Now some people, as in the case with Kaizen tutorial, he actually uses a map range. Now a map range, it's basically a color ramp but with numbers, so it helps you be a little more accurate, but I think this one just helps you see stuff just a little better. So actually we can come and, you know, so what we need, but we actually need the reverse of this. So maybe something around here actually looks pretty goddamn good, and I'm actually super glad. Now with this we can actually get, let me set this just a little back, maybe something like that. Yeah, this works a little better. And now let us get a gamma node. So gamma, it's basically if you increase the gamma, let me just do it, you know, exponentially here, it's actually going to brighten or darken your stuff, which kind of helps us define the edges a little bit better. So we kind of have the right information to begin with, which is pretty good. And this we can actually consider our edge mask. So let's group this, let's take this, Shift P, and then after to name it, and I'll call it an edge mask, which is all nice and dandy. And we can also get this part here, which will be for us, let's say Shift P, and this will be the main color of our material. Well, really the main material, and you'll see why I'm saying that, but here's how we can actually use the edge mask for our purpose. So first things first, you can either get another material from Polygon or Blender Kit or whatever, or I think I already have one. I'm gonna use the metal steel brush. Now you don't have to use this one, I'll probably also change it later on. I just want to show how to use this. Basically this will be used the same way we used the first one. So after we have this material, let me get a principal BSTF because we'll actually need to use that. Also let me get another texture coordinate, which again we'll use our UV unwrap. And this base color, you know, the metalness, the roughness, all the good stuff actually goes, will go into their design slot, which is pretty good. And now what I want to do is actually get a mix shader And this is where my tutorial kind of goes, you know, afar from Kaizen's. However, the idea is basically the same, only I use already made materials, not procedural materials made in Blender. So with actually this gamma, I can actually go to the factorial, because this will actually become the mask for my shader. Let me actually move this up here. And now I can have this, which I can actually call a second material, but just a little later on. And I can actually put it right here, and you can actually see a difference already. So this is how it looked before. And now, of course, you actually can't see it properly. I just realized I don't have a light yet, and I got into render mode. The shading is really weird though. What's going on? I mean, it looks good when I do this, when I keep moving it around. Anyway, what I want to show you, and really that's the actual thing. If I actually set this here, you will be able to actually notice something. So let me actually get this all the way up, and now you can actually see the steel brush. And actually, if we get it, you know, to a point where you can, to a point where you actually, you know, will be able to only see what we want, which of course is not really the point. Something maybe like this should do, I guess. And now, you know, back to the whole material. And now you will, well, it's not so noticeable, but you can kind of notice that we do have, you know, some brush still up there on the edges. Now, another thing we can actually do about it, we can actually get a noise texture. Put it right here. And just as we did with the noise in the layer-based stuff, we can actually add a math node, set to multiply, and actually set this like this. So we will basically multiply the value we have here with our noise texture. A noise texture that it's actually also gonna be controlled by a control map, because why not? So let me actually see this by itself. And we will have it, you know, kind of like this. Pretty detailed. Let me put it to a 10. And a rough, maybe so like a 0.65. Actually, you know, like your entity can say to 2. And this one to 0, because I don't care. And now I can actually have this, and this will actually be here in a mask, and of course now the multiply is there as well. So now we do actually have what we basically want, right? Again, you can play, of course, around with the values if you do so wish. That is absolutely possible. It's pretty easy to notice it. So I actually did change the material. I used this rust mix. It's still from Polygon, still free, so not really a big change there. I just did it because I wanted to have a better contrast, because I did realize the reason we couldn't really see this, it's because actually being, you know, like rusty or just like steel brush, it's gonna be either too reflective, either too, well, similar to the color to not actually do any big change. So I'm gonna actually just call this second material. Now with this actually being out of the way, again, I want to actually go back to my main color here, and to actually do something to this. So as we see, we do have enough of what we want, right? So this should be in theory enough. However, we can actually do a little more with it. And what I'm saying by that, we can actually come in here, get an image texture. You can actually go with your image texture and get a grunge map or a scratch map or something. You can find a lot of them on the internet. These particular ones are actually given by SouthernShotty, who actually has a short movie that I think it's absolutely excellent. It's all done in Blender, by the way. So if you want to see the powers of Blender, you can actually go check his movie out to see kind of what you can do. It's super high quality, honestly. And he actually gave these for free. I will leave the link in the description to his channel, so you can actually go and check it out. But I'm going to use this grunge map, for example. And the way we can actually use this, it's pretty much simple. You can just come in here, and then we can have a little bit of a mix color. Now, of course, I'm going to use this as my factor, and actually I will have this one be right in between the base color and, well, the rest of the material. So let me actually come in here, get this into the A slot, and then like this. And now you cannot really see a lot. Let me actually try to make this a little more visible. Let me try to, I don't know, darken these. I'm trying to actually show them off as much as I can. Set this to mix. It was set to color by default when I brought it. So if you put this full to white, you can actually see them white, or like this to black. It just depends on what you really want, right? And the good thing with it, you can actually change its colorings, right? So you can actually change how you want it to look, and of course you can make, whatever colors you really think of. I'm gonna make this like a little desaturated reddish color, for example. You can also add this and it will make them look a little more pop-off-ish, so it will help you see them better. And no, yeah, add would actually have the best result. And now if we actually look at it, not a lot will actually happen. You will see the dots, like you can definitely see them here. And for that reason, we can also make this use our UVs. And what else we can actually do is not a mixed color, sorry. Have another color ramp drive this. We will use a lot of color ramps, really. And to make them look so here how this looks now, you can see them because we actually have the color ramp to make them way more contrasty. And of course, now you can again change these colors and have like, dots and parts that you might think, hey, the robot has some, I don't know, like rust or some problems or whatever, some paint. Of course, we can also use this in our advantage, because we can also get a vector mapping node. Let me get the code like this for now, because we don't really need it anymore. And with this, we can actually do something pretty cool, which is we can actually scale these so the dots look either like this, way more persistent, or just, less persistent, but way bigger. So it's really up to your decision. I'm gonna make this a 2.5 probably, because I like them like this, like kind of in between. And I really, really like the effect as well. Now, another thing you could have done, I'm going to leave it like this. And here's something that this does that I did not talk about, is the roughness. So basically this one will have the exact same roughness and metalness as, well, the rest of the body, because it basically, when you get it into the principled BSDF, this is exactly the same thing that, the Quixel mixers, albedo and roughness had, right? It's literally the same thing. That's our principal BSDF. However, the thing that I did realize with it is that you can actually make these different materials just like we did with, well, Quixel Mixer. You have to make it a separate material basically. So the way I'm proposing to do that, if you want, again, I'm not gonna change, this is gonna be my thing, but it's the same way we did with the second material. Basically, you would have taken the grunge map and considered it a second material altogether and actually get the image into the principled BSDF. And that way, basically, you would have a different roughness because you would spawn out of another principal BSDF instead of being from the exact same one that, you know, the main body actually gets its information from. Just a little bit of a side note there, because I know that, you know, you can actually use this properly even better if you do so wish, of course. There are chances I might change that in the future and actually do that, because if we will do some like dirt and stuff, we would actually need that. This is not supposed to be dirt, right? This is supposed to be like the some rusty little things and dots really, and that is why I'm keeping it kind of like this. I don't want it to be extreme. And another thing we can actually do, because yes, you can use this in a lot of ways to help yourself out, is to put another noise texture. I know it sounds like we use the same nodes over and over again, the color ramp and the noise texture, and to be extremely honest with all of you, we do. We basically use the same things over and over again because they are, well, to be totally honest with you, also the most useful ones, especially in our case. So we will have this, right? Which is fine and dandy. We love it. It's really, really nice. So this one gives us something like this, which is, you know, the better we actually make the contrast, the better we can see the dots. You can also, you know, minimize the dots like this. It's really, really up to you and your artistic decision. So this is kind of the result we get like this, which again, super good. I'm actually enjoying this quite a bit. However, again, we can do even better than this, and the way to do so, actually, it's a little too much now. Let's do something like this, better. But we can actually do a little more than this. So let's say we don't want it on all the body, right? We only want it on a certain part of the body. We can use the noise texture in combination with a texture called a node called gradient texture. Now, gradient texture would basically do, well, kind of exactly what it says, which is to, well, use gradient. For some reason, it spawned my mapping and my texture coordinate all the way over here. So if you press Ctrl T, you can actually spawn this only if you have Node Wrangler turned on, which I do suggest you to have. It's probably one of the most useful nodes, well, ever, to be totally honest with you. And leave this to either generated, either object. I do kind of recommend object. I think it gives a better result, at least in our case. And let's actually spin this, not this way, on the Y. Let's put it to a 90. And then get, of course, a color ramp as well. And you can actually play with this from here, or you can actually also, you know, move it from the X here. So let me do just that. And we will want to actually reverse these two colors, and you'll see why in just a second. And with this actually basically done, with the gradient map actually being here, of course we can derive this just from the X alone to actually kind of keep this softer part here, you know, to keep the transition between the black and the white a little, you know, better. And let's actually do something like this. And you'll see why in just a second. So I'm using a value of 0.88 on the X, right? And we will need, of course, another mix color node. This time it's set to mix, which is a good thing. And let's add the noise texture with our gradient texture, see what we're actually going to get. So I'm actually adding these two. Or should we multiply actually? Wait. I think multiplication is a little better. But it should be the other way. Yeah, that's perfect. This is the way. Yeah, this is the way. I hope you did watch The Mandalorian. This is where that comes from. Good, and we can do something like this. We can actually scale this, you know, to make our lives a little better. Let's set this like a 7.5. Let's also get the roughness up here, like a 0.7. That actually looks pretty good. And let's actually get the factorial to 1 to actually have this contrast between black and white for the noise texture a little better. So actually having this, what we did is just multiply the noise texture, well actually the gradient with the noise texture. Let me actually set it up like that to be easier to understand, to have a better comprehension on what we're doing. And I do recommend for you, if you do work with nodes like this, to be as organized as possible. It's just going to help you out in the future, you know, when you actually want to go back and change stuff. So with this actually being done, what we need to do is actually use this to tell our grunge here how to behave, right? This is, well, the whole thing. And to do that, you probably guessed it, you use a multiply. It's actually super easy when you sit to think about it, because the whole deal with these multiply and really with everything else, it's just that you need to understand how these nodes work, and the moment you do understand that, it's just gonna be so obvious how to actually use them. And as you can actually see, this works really goddamn well. And the noise will help us a little bit as well. So what we do, it's actually we're masking even more our grunge map here so that it looks a little bit more realistic. So it has actually, you know, a different pass through it. So we'll use this one as our actual factor. Let us put it kind of like this. And now we can actually see the entire thing. And actually you can come all the way close here and see the result, which actually is pretty nice. And again, changing color is still happening. That did not change. It's still okay. Of course, you can also play around with your values. See if you find another one that actually you like a little better. Maybe color burn can be your thing. It does pop the image off way better, really. It's easier to see it, by the way, this way. I don't have the screencast on, do I? Because I barely reopened Blender, and because of that, it's actually not on anymore. Here we are. Good. So with this, let me see if it works. And it's working. Again, don't be shy on trying different things. I often find myself in the, you know, even when I do like the tutorial and stuff, I genuinely start trying stuff out just to see what if this works better. And well, to be totally honest, for example, I think the linear light, which I'll be totally honest, I don't think I've ever used before, works much better because we can still get the exact result we got earlier, or we can actually make the light super, the color much more contrasty and much more noticeable, which can be, you know, a thing that you might want to have. I do actually want to be able to see those at least a little bit more, so I'm actually going to have that. So with this actually being done and out of the way, kind of, we have a pretty good setup. So you can actually see there are kind of a lot of nodes at this point, which again, working organized, super important. And we have this. Until now, we actually just did a main color, an edge mask, and a second color. Well, what we need to actually do is actually make more than this. Let's actually do and use some ambient occlusion. So ambient occlusion is actually pretty easy, and it's a node that, you know, Blender has already by default. It's not that hard to work with, and it's super nice. You'd use that in combination with a color ramp, because of course everything has to be in combination with a color ramp. And basically, ambient occlusion gives us that really nice vibe of edgeware. Gives us then a really nice vibe of, like, I don't know if necessarily edgeware or like really how to call it, but it's a lot like what the edge mask would do, but not on the edges, just where like shadow would usually hit, which is why you have to use cycles to see it, because it's, well, the only way to actually compute it. So with this here, we will need another principled BSDF, of course, because this time we do need that. And for example, this one, we can actually have, you know, just be a color. However, I would like it to copy a little bit of what the gold was doing. So let me actually see this. And let's copy this part, for example. And now we can actually see what we have. So this is actually a pretty good thing. You can actually darken this a little bit, make it a little rougher. So like a 0.7 would do. And this is actually pretty good. And the reason for it, it's because we don't need a lot of thing with it to go, right? We just need to kind of combine it smart enough. So we get a mix shader now. And now we can get another mix shader right here, which will have in the A slot the first mix shader with everything we had, and in the second one we will actually have our new principled BSDF here, which is our third color, and our ambient occlusion mask will just become the mask for this, which of course will not do, you know, that big of a difference. As you can actually tell, it's just going to tell it where to be and where to, well, not be. So actually, if we come all the way close here, you can actually see the results. Without this, this is gonna be absolutely dark. With this, it's actually going to be like a dark golden, you know, worn out stuff. And of course, we can of course use this in combination with what else if not a noise texture, because I do love to use noise texture, honestly. So using the noise with another color ramp, of course, we will actually have to see what we're doing. First, we're going to make it much more contrasty, because that's what we always have to do. Get it way the way down, actually way the way up. Get it to like a 6.5, or rather a 9 this time. Make it a little more detailed, and 0.75 should do. And this I will use in combination with a mix color node. So something like this. And of course we can multiply these. And you know, use the factor. The way again this will work, it's the ambient occlusion will multiply with the noise and basically create the noise pattern that we just had here in the ambient occlusion mask, as you can actually tell. So actually making this like a 200 would work in our favor, really. because it will be a little less obvious. Which you don't want it to be, by the way, too obvious with your masks. And I know, by the way, this is a really good and important advice. Don't think that just because you're doing a cool edge mask or a cool ambient occlusion mask, you need to show it off. Here's the deal. A lot of these, unfortunately, are not remarkable, and they're not like the ones that will steal people's attention, which is a good thing in a way, because that means you did your job right. If these are too obvious and they're getting too much attention, you're taking away from, well, you know, the overall product. And that is something we do not really wish to do, because, well, the whole point of this is to make our texture look good overall, not just make a part of it look good. So I know this might suck a little bit, because you would say, well, but that's too little. I want to, you know, I want people to see that I was able to do this, which is a good thing. Don't get me wrong. I totally get why you would want to do this. Absolutely get that. But just remember that just because you can do it, it doesn't mean you have to totally shove it in people's eyes. You have to make sometimes just very subtle changes, because it will actually change a lot about your texture, but you know, they're not gonna be like the things that everyone talks about. Just for you to know. It's just sorry, I just had to name this. It's just something I learned, you know, pretty harsh by myself, because I was doing this mistake quite a lot of times. I always thought that, well, isn't that how you do it? Shouldn't that be the way to do it? No, you shouldn't be doing it that way. I, in the beginning at least, was doing super contrasty masks just for people to be able to see I was doing it. But yeah, I realized it was actually making everything way worse. After we've done this, we can actually go and do basically another ambient occlusion mask, but this time it's going to be just a little bit different. So I'm going to do an ambient occlusion, again another color ramp, and of course I didn't write it properly again, so I can actually get something, well, I'm actually going to reverse this time actually. So I'm gonna get something maybe of the salt. Let me see. Okay, and now I can also get a noise texture that actually will drive this color, and I can actually scale this a little bit down, detail it a little bit. Yeah, play with its roughness, and adjust this as much as I want. And again, of course, I'm not gonna actually want it to be like this. So I'm actually going to have our gradient texture from up here all the way down here, and actually I need it to get out of this. So I just deleted it. That's all you have to do. There was a way to also get the nodes out, I just forgot it. So now just get a mixed color like we did before, and we're going to use our gradient this time as a factorial, because actually we can probably just multiply it instead of using it as a factorial, now that I still think about it. And do this, and let's see if this actually will work the way I want it to. And it kind of does, but I don't want it to be fully white like this. Now I will want to maybe tweak this gradient map, also maybe tweak the color ramp up here. But what I do want is actually the factorial to be not full, to be like a 0.98. something like this, to be pretty dark, to be pretty hard to see, but to actually have something there as well, because I think it would help out. Of course, what will help out even more, have another color ramp. And probably you're sick of me saying color ramp over and over again, but hey, this gives us a lot of control overall, and I do think it's a pretty important node for us to get. So this is what we would have without it. This is what we have with it. If we don't find it useful, of course, you can also lower the brightness in case of anything. Yeah, we will just see. Now we will get a principled PSTF, of course. Who would have thought that? And actually we'll get another material from Polygon. The material probably something like dirt, or if my mouse would work properly, maybe I'm actually getting there today. So let's search for some dirty stuff. That sounded really bad, but I swear to God I was talking about dirt. So this is actually looking pretty good. So what I got is ground dirt rocky 013 or something. Just search for ground dirt rocky and you probably should find it. So now I'm actually going to get this. Get another texture coordinate. Okay, get the UV in there. And with this actually, I'm going to set it up just as we did all these times before. Actually, we don't need the metallic this time because it has no metallic value. It should have no metallic value anyway. And now the normals. And this should do. And actually, we can see it in all its beauty up here. Here is the dirt. And with this dirt, actually, you know what? I don't know why I didn't use the Ctrl-T shortcut, because I will need a mapping as well for this one, because I want to, scale it. Like a 3.5, this should do. And with this, we're actually going to use another beautiful mixed shader node. So let's just duplicate this one, put this one here, put this one up here. And again, you probably will look at this and feel a little intimidated. We do all this together, so don't be intimidated, it's fine. And now you can actually come here and see that the dirt is actually down here. And of course, again, we won't see it properly. It's actually darkened. And I think that's also a lot because of the shadow as well. But as you can see, if you increase the color ramp here, it's working pretty well. Now, let's say I mute this. And actually, let me get this node out of the way. And I will just have this node be my factorial. Let me get this in here. And it's actually, you can see it, but it's again pretty hard to see. To tweak that, I think we would actually need to do something like this, play again with the contrast between the two colors, and then we would be able to see better where we have the dirt and where we don't have it. Again, I personally enjoy more when we do have the color ramp, because it does gives us exactly this sort of control that we're missing otherwise. But yeah, it totally works. It's oh, that was very loud. So actually, if I set this if I set the color inverted, I really have to change my mouse. I really thought I don't have to. I hope at least I don't have to. I definitely do have to. So that's what we will have right now. It's a combination of the two worlds, as you can probably notice. Of course, it's actually not going to look the best because, well, for those that don't know, it's not going to look the crazy good looking thing, but actually it does gives us a pretty good reference to what we should have. Actually, here it looks really, really good. What the hell? I did not expect it to look this well. But yeah, this is kind of the thing we want to have. And actually, you know what I'm super interested in? What is the render going to look like? Is it actually going to look like the render preview? That might have messed up a little bit. The render looks horrible. When I see this, I try to not cry. Because here's how it looks in like real life. It just looks so good. Real life, material mode. While the render mode is just such a bad shading, and I really can't tell why is it so bad. So first things first, why is the dirt like this? It's dirty, if it makes any sense, which probably shouldn't make any sense. I'm not changing the color of the dirt, am I? So then why is it like a charcoal instead of the dirt? Okay, so this alone looks okay. So the base color, we're good with there. See Iowa? Oh, that'd be a problem. It never was a problem before. This works properly. Yeah, I cut it. I am. Oh my god, I'm dumb. I am so dumb. The normal from. So, oh my god, I can't believe. Jesus Christ, I'm so stupid. So, what I forgot is Polygon has already the normals set down. Polygon doesn't need a normal map. I use the Quixel Mixer materials so much that I actually forgot that the normals from Polygon already work without you needing a normal map to work it with. And when you actually do have that, it will affect the result, because it will try to map something is already mapped, basically. So it makes no goddamn sense to do so. I was so frustrated. So frustrated, and yes, I'm not trying to swear. And I'm trying not to swear, actually. That's the better term. It was so... oh my... It bugs me since morning, and I try to deny the fact that it's a bug. I realize it's not a bug. I just thought maybe it's just the shading itself or something. Oh my god. I cannot believe I was about to... oh shit. I was about to delete this and be like, you know what, we're starting over because it's obvious something's wrong. And I just want to know why and what. And now you can actually see this even better now as well, because it doesn't have everything. And actually, if I take the... again, the change with the still... I really don't like this material either, to be totally honest with you, but I think the still had to go. Because really, it's just not good enough. So let me actually put this in here. The normal will be taken from here. The metalness will be taken from here. And the roughness will be taken from here. So as you can actually see, it does totally look better now. But yeah, still not good enough. Like, it's still not there. Maybe just if I'm like bringing the color brightness of the material, but even then it's still not looking that well. So yeah, in this case, it's still not, you know, like the best thing. Actually, you know what might be a little better now? Let me see. Let me find it. Oh, I hear now a sound in the headphones that I think the mic is creating. Let me try to change this. Maybe I can actually avoid this. It's very distracting for me, and I probably think for you will be as well. What was it? Rust mixed. No, that's the one we already have. Rust plain. That's one. UV, base color, roughness, metalness. Still not gonna be good enough. yeah, still not contrasty enough. So yeah, this is still not there. For now, I'll still have to keep this just to kind of be able to see it properly. But again, I'm probably going to change it. I still don't like this as well either, but it's better than the other versions. But yeah, definitely, finally, I can say that I can at least see everything the way, well, the way it was supposed to be. And this actually looks super nice. Sorry, but I am so happy because I was so frustrated with this. You cannot imagine. So let us actually come back here just for 1 second and actually see if I can actually get this a little better. Maybe have this transition like this. This is set to ease. Another trick, by the way, that I usually do use. So I can actually make this be a little less colorful. So again, not be as noticeable. How will this look now? How will this look now? Is that what I just said? Yeah, no, the brightness should stay up. Or just get it up here and then make the brightness a little bit, just a tiny bit less obvious. Something like this. I think this one looks much better. And it does look really, really good actually. It's just, oh, I'm so happy. So we basically did more or less kind of everything we need for one part of the material, which is fine. Again, this is kind of what I want to show. It's, again, just like I did for the Quixel Mixer textures, I will probably just show you the important ones, the important stuff I'll do. So this is kind of all the steps you kind of want to do to get your textures right. Of course, we're not done yet. We still have a little bit to go, but you kind of get a point. Now, what I will show you, it's actually a really, really cool and easy trick to do to get imperfections. Remember, we did use it in the beginning, which is this dust overlay that we got, for example, from our friend SouthernShotty. Well, we can actually get them for free from somewhere, and it's actually a place we actually used right before this. It's Quixel Mixer, guys. We're going to use Quixel Mixer. Yes, because here is the deal. Even if you will not actually use Quixel Mixer for texturing itself, you can actually use it to improve your textures in Blender, because Quixel Mixer does come with two great things. First, a pretty big range of materials, which you can get the albedo and the normals and the displacement and all that good stuff, and transport them into Blender. But for that you need UV unwrapping. You still need it for the polygon ones, so you can still use it. But I don't want to use those materials, because I basically will end up more or less doing the same thing as I did in Quixel Mixer, and there's no reason for it. However, I will use it for imperfections. And actually I did set this up a little bit. So all you need to do is come in here. So just open a new Quixel Mixer file and leave it with a plane that it has by default. It's perfectly fine. All you need to go and do is choose an imperfection you like, and with that, all you gotta do, and I swear to God this is all, go to export, choose the resolution you want your texture to actually get out as, and all you need is get the roughness. And I mean it, again, just the roughness. And let me create this subfolder, and I got the roughness, and just so that I can show it to you, for this we will do a different principled shade, principled BSDF, sorry. So a principled BSDF, and then we will have an image texture. And with this image texture, we'll open it. I'll go to imperfections, one more time, and here's the roughness. And this is it. This is more or less it. So Control T. Don't forget, you will use Control T only if you do have Node Wrangler enabled in Blender. And that's you know, just an add-on that comes with Blender. You don't need to buy it, you don't need to do anything. And with I just put screencast on for you guys to see what I'm pressing. And we have it right here. Now we can just actually put it into the principal BSDF, but just as I did this entire time, I'm going to use a color ramp because this allows me to have a little more control over my texture. And actually, let's see what we see. And well, this is the roughness map we just had, which is pretty fine, pretty fire as well. And we can actually drag these colors to match better what we want. Of course, again, it's all up to us how much we want it, how we want it to be, so on and so forth, yada yada yada. Like, genuinely, don't be shy to use this. Of course, again, this is just a way for you to understand. You can use this in combination with a gradient texture again, because with a gradient texture, we would actually be able to put it you know, control where exactly on our body it will be. But first, let me show you how to do the rest of the things, because we're not done just yet. So what we will have to do, we don't want to control the color with this texture. This texture will control only two things. We'll control the roughness and the normal. However, we will not control the normal just by taking this and actually putting it into normal. That would be a big mistake. What we will do actually is get a node called bump. And the bump node is probably one of the most powerful nodes Blender has. And get the color from the color ramp, put it into the height, extremely important, and then put this into the normal. And actually, with this, we will need to mix it with the rest of our stuff. So let's just get another mix shader up here, put this up. We'll take this and put it in the, you know, lower slot. And actually, let me order this just a little bit. Again, the order is, as far as I'm concerned at least, pretty important. Because later on, if you will, you know, want to come back and actually see what you did, you will kind of have to use it. And let's see what we get. And it looks very bad. But why is that? Well, we are not yet telling it where to stay. It's still a factor. And we don't need that. And we don't want that. We actually have a mask for it, which is the color ramp here that we'll put here. And now, ladies and gentlemen, we do actually have our beautiful scratches. However, you might think, I don't want to have scratches like this, because if you look at it, it looks actually like it's getting out instead of actually being carved in our material. All you gotta do, go to bump map, press invert, and that will actually make it seem that it's carved into your body, which is absolutely wonderful. And now, of course, you can play with all the things, the scale, and you can make this look much bigger. So, for example, you can set this to like a 0.1. And look how big these look now. And I mean, it is pretty interesting. Look at these. This actually looks quite good, quite interesting. You can darken them if you so wish, and so on and so forth. You can do a lot of things. But again, of course, this is where the thing that I talked to you about a little was put gradient map in combination with this kind of stuff. And the reason for it really, it's because a gradient, well, not map, sorry, but a texture actually helps you out quite a bit, because you will be able to control much better what you're doing. Again, of course, a color ramp can never go wrong. You can never go wrong with a color ramp. It's just the way it is, and we should face that. And let me put this back here, get a mixed color node. It doesn't really matter where this is. I'm just gonna put it up in here. We will multiply this wherever that is. And actually, we will get this into the slot A. And now this can actually go into the roughness and, of course, the height as well. Now, of course, this doesn't do much of a thing yet, because it is not properly done. So we need to set this to the 90 degrees. Get it up a little bit. Somewhere maybe around here. I don't know. It's really up to you in this case. And now with this, we can actually go back, check it out. Wait. Yeah, and also put the factorial to 1. I forgot to do that and I was not understanding why it's not working properly. And of course, if you do so wish, you can also like lighten these up just a little bit to kind of still see them a little bit. I don't want this as big, so maybe somewhere around 0.8, maybe even more could work better. And here we are. The scratches are there, and the scratches look bigger and bigger the more you go and more prominent, and that is exactly what we want. Now, of course, you can actually do even more than this, and if you want to control this even better, by the way, I don't think I explained this one, you can put another color in and actually make this gray a little darker here. And as you can see, you can move with this one towards the white color, and because of that, it's gonna get even harder for you to notice the cut here, as you can actually probably tell by now. Oh, but I'm not taking the factorial. I was really wondering why that was not working properly. It's because I was using the factorial from the other one. So again, to show it a little better, play around with these values and you'll actually get to see, you know. Let me get it close. So you can see the scratches around here and more prominent scratches around here. Get the white value up, totally seeing it, and totally also going more and more down with this, because that's how it works. And of course, you know, go back and so on and so forth. So from here on out, you can just control this however you feel like it. Of course, it is you know, only up to you. And without this, we actually have a nice passing. It's just a matter of where do you want these fadings to go. So with this, I do think it's also a very important moment to realize, again, as I said, Blender can be super useful when you use it in combination with other programs. Pixel Mixer is just a small example, but there are so many others. Let me take this and name this scratches. Very important. And this one was dirt. So I can take this whole thing, Shift P, F2, dirt, mask. I call it mask. Good me. Good. So we have the material, at least in my opinion, pretty much set up for, well, whatever we could think to do with it. Yeah, we can probably actually do it already. So there are two more things we have to do in this video. First things first, I want to do the same thing for the other materials, which is actually going to be super easy to do. I'll show you in just a second. But the other thing that we have to actually do is actually, and this one you have to pay attention to, put stickers. Remember when I put stickers in Pixel Mixer and it did change, at least in my opinion, changed a lot of the surfaces and of the material itself? Well, we can actually do the same thing in here, pretty much the same way we did there. The only difference is really the way you want to do it. So there are two ways you can actually go about with this one. Let me push this kind of around here. So let's say I don't want this, right? Let's say I want, wait, actually, let's say I don't want this. And right now I just have the golden color, right? Perfectly fine, pretty well, so on and so forth. What I can do is actually get an image texture, just like this. Put it right in between, and as you can see, it actually doesn't really work properly because the image is empty. We have nothing there yet, and it doesn't know what to do. Press new, call this sticker 1, body. Let's make this maybe, I don't know, 2K. We don't need the alpha, we just need a black background. and press OK. And now this will become black, which is exactly the way we need it to be. But of course, this cannot be the color. What this has to be is a mask. And again, get the mix color node for this one. And what you gotta do is actually to mix this in. So I'll set this to add. Get the color, put this in B. And as you can see, right now things are working pretty much the way they should work. More or less anyway. The reason I'm saying more or less is because right now we still have, well, nothing really, you know, from our sticker, from our image here. So for that, we actually have to go to texture paint, where it's actually super important to have the UV and wrap done well. And I'll have it right here in the right. Okay. And actually in the left here, we can actually see the node. Very important for this, you have to have the image texture that we've just created selected. And here you can actually see something I did try, I think, before. I don't remember exactly when, but probably when I was doing the oxygen tank, because that's the sticker I used for that one. So to do this, you can actually just come in the texture paint and paint over, and you would do, well, exactly what it says. However, we want to put a certain image on. So we actually come here to texture, which is right here in tools. You'll probably see this screen. So just go a little bit down to texture and actually press on this. And also you'll have this set to probably view plane or no, view plane or tiled. It might be tiled. Set this to stencil. You'll see why in just a second. So the texture is on. I'm gonna call it sticker 1. And now go down here to texture in the last tab and open the image to actually get the texture we want, right? So let's actually go into the folder I have all the stickers in. I'm going to use similar stickers, at least for now. Probably, again, I'm going to change them for later on. But this is just to prove how we can actually do this. And again, pretty important. Where is it? Here. Pretty important. I do think this one step, this is the one step I would personally suggest Blender actually does a better job than Kaizen Mixer could probably ever pull off. Now we have this. We have the image, but as you can see, it's repeated. What does that mean? When you do actually have it in here, you will actually repeat it on the next thing, which is not something we really do want. What you want to do instead of extension, so at mapping, which you'll probably see like this, at mapping, go to the extension and instead of repeat, either say clip or extend. Personally, I choose clip most of the time, it just works a little better. Extend can actually stretch your image, which don't really want. And then now, with this actually being done, go back to your tool. And your tool, again, has to be set to stencil for you to be able to see the paintbrush like this. This is the whole ordeal with tool. If you go into tile, you actually won't see it. You will also not really paint over with it, which is so dumb. So press on stencil. And now let's actually set this to 3, have it on this side. And let's actually create a dog. So to move this, what you actually have to do, and oh yeah, screencast is turned off because that's what they do when you change the tabs. So dumb. So right click to actually drag this and move it wherever you want. Shift right click to actually move your mouse to actually size it. Control right click to actually rotate it however you want. And yeah, that's kind of it. I thought Alt will also do something. It doesn't. So with that actually being out of the way, let us just paint this. So what's the whole deal with the colors? Because here's the deal. First things first, you have a blend mode. So I have a blend mode for the mix color node right here, which I did set to add. But I also have one right here in the mix. So what the hell is up with that? Well, actually what up with that is just the fact that right now I can actually set this to add, and actually when I do have this, you can see that it paints it way lighter than if, for example, I would have mix on. I could set this to multiply, and again, if I would do this, it's actually not going to do it because it's darkening stuff out. And actually, when I do it with add right here, you can actually see where I'm painting at, and yes, you can also paint on this part as well. This is almost the result, because here's the deal. Another good thing that Blender comes with, it's the fact that you work in Blender most of the time anyway. And by that I mean, you actually can see exactly how your body will interact with the rest of the body. Which is perfectly fine, because in that way, I can actually see where the dog in this case will sit, no pun intended really, in conformity with the rest of the body, especially the arms, which are the ones that will cover a lot of our dog here, and I don't want to cover him up. Do I now? I actually am asking, I'm not sure anymore. Okay, so to actually be able to delete this, the image I just created here, and to not, create a new image and all that, instead of stencil here, let's switch to view plane. That way, when we set this color to black instead of white, because white will actually recreate a dog, and we don't need that. What we do need is to delete it, and we can just delete it like this. And yes, you probably did realize we will also use this method to make it look worn out and, scratched and shit like that. But until we actually get to that point, we're going to delete it, set it back to white, make this again a stencil, and I set this to mix. Let's set it back to, what was it? Lighten or a linear light? I think it was linear light. I'm actually not sure. And you can size it however you want. I'm going to size it kind of like this. Color it beautifully in there. And it's actually going to look something like this, which I actually don't like anymore, because I changed the method. And because I did change the method of how I actually do get our dog in here, I think add will do a perfect job this time. So as you can see, add is the one to use when it comes to this. Now we can, of course, bump it a little more just to make it a little better. 0.25 is the one I used, of course. It is up to you how much you want. And this is kind of how you put a sticker on in Blender. Now, again, I showed you two methods. One where you can actually kind of show it as a painted in thing. And one where it looks like it's sticked on there. Of course, you can also invert this. Because right now I think it makes it look actually curved in. This way it actually looks like it bumps out, which it's the more accurate version. And now we actually get to the part I will love to do, which is actually making this now look bad, but on purpose, which is the better thing. So let's actually save this as sticker 1. And to save it, by the way, please actually click on the fake user. What that will do is actually save the data, so when you will actually get out of Blender or move to something else, this will stay saved so you can actually use it in the future. Okay, now let's delete this, create damage texture. So with this, what I will do is actually basically kind of the same thing. However, instead of actually taking another sticker, I will actually go to imperfections and use something out of here. Honestly, in here I don't have that many things, and I am, well, to be totally honest, not very sure if I have anything they can help me out. I have scratches, which is good. Let's actually use this one. I think this might, oh my god, I don't think it will work, but I can at least try, right? Let's use it as a clip. Let us see how this will look. So let's get this up. But it looks really bad. No. So we will not use it because I think it will look horrible. And it does actually the work way better than the previous version. So I'm pretty happy with that. So we can just actually cut in into our, image. Another thing that I actually didn't use in Pixel Mixer, now that I started to think about it, which is actually the color itself. To actually make it a little better, what I would do would be to... I already have this gradient map that actually does something pretty interesting. What I would actually do is take this gradient map from here, right? Invert it. So let me actually put it here. And now what this will do is basically... Wait. Let me actually put this to the color. Invert this. And probably the color ramp to actually help me out here. Set a gray in between them, kind of around there, and it should work pretty fine. Set this to ease as well to actually help me out with that smoothness. And what I will actually do is actually take this as my color, kind of, because I don't want to change necessarily the base color itself. I know I actually could probably, and it would still look pretty well. The reason I want to do this, let me actually see how this will look. So this will actually look pretty interesting now that I think about it. The reason is I can go with it something like this, which is, you know, the golden stuff. So let's say something like this. Take this and actually, you know what? I can take this exact color because now I know I can copy the hex, which is something I did learn while doing the tutorial for Quixel Mixer, by the way, just in case you were wondering. Take this and make it super dark, or not super dark, but darker. And this one, actually, I can just delete it and put something in between. And the reason you might think, why would you do that? Well, the reason I would do that is because it has to show that it's been worn out. And the more closer to the earth it was, the basically more it got used up. If it makes any sense. I hope it makes sense. In my head, it makes so much sense. I'm like, yeah, that is such a good idea. But I know that sometimes, so also a thing that I advise you, try stuff. Sometimes I'm not actually using what I'm saying all the time, because sometimes it just doesn't work. It's good on paper, or at least I think it's good on paper. It's actually not working. So this, Shift P, F2, sticker 1. Again, I probably use paint and put it, you know, as an actual color instead of a whole different new material. But you kind of got a point. You kind of got how to do it. So let me delete this first, because I actually don't like this color. I want something different. Maybe something like this. This is a little on the better side. Darken it. Not too much, just a little bit. Make a difference. Make the smoothness transition over it. And with this, you can actually go, and actually you can even play around with this color a little more. And, you know, actually make it a little redder. So again, take this out and put it in between. This will make it actually go perfectly well with because Blender will actually think about it itself instead of you actually having to do that. And now, show us what we get. I think it will look really good. I will probably also post another video on how I do the rest of the body probably next week. Because I know this video is actually pretty long already, and really, this is how you do it. These are the entire methods that I will use, and I've, well, almost probably always used in Blender, but really this is a one time I am able to say for sure this can for sure rival Quixel Mixer, definitely. And let's say that I'm a little crazy and I want to actually take this and use it in the second color, because I can actually do that. I can absolutely do that now. Because, and here's another thing that Quixel Mixer, the Quixel Mixer kind of loses to Blender at. I can take all these nodes, copy them, right? I can go to the material, go to the second color, right? Delete this. Introduce everything I have. Okay, this is a sign, so remember that part. It's a sign to this. We know that. And this will work pretty well once we actually have it set up completely, which it didn't. Oh, because it had the other thing and it didn't know what to do. And now it doesn't really look that great. And there are a few reasons why that happened. First things first, this is actually not set for our body here. It's set for the earlier one, and to actually set it up for this one, all you gotta do is actually play with the values so that it actually matches our new thing. Honestly, the edge mask probably will not do too much. Thinking about it now, it's like kind of useless. Oh, and I'm also into material mode, and yeah. So definitely the edge mask will not do too much. So let us check out how this will look now. So it's gonna be something around here. Really, you can kind of go all out with this one. But I'm not gonna do that. I'm gonna keep it somewhere around here. Let's see what the multiply does it. Okay, now it looks a little better. So now if you look at this, this actually looks quite okay. More or less anyway. Now the gradient might not look the best because again, it was not created for that. It is created for this one. So we gotta think about this one, right? First things first, different color palette. I'm not sure what the color will be for this one, but let me just, I don't know, think that it's gonna be like a grayish stuff. Or actually no, let me make it blue again. And I'm gonna think it over. And I'm gonna just make it, you know, a little bit of a darkish blue. Get it in here. And actually I can see what this material will look like. Which is not looking the best. That's not a lie. Because the color is too, in my opinion at least, it's way too dark. So let us actually increase the value of this one. Much better like this. Bring another one. Make sure this is selected. Darken it pretty well. Kind of around there. Put something in between. Kind of like this. And it will do a pretty nice transition. Gradient is so powerful, by the way. I personally do think it's one of the best things you can use. The noise will actually do a pretty good job, because I mean, it should. So this right now is actually not doing anything. It's just staying around there. I'm not sure if I'm going to use it. We'll see a little later. This is actually... Oh, it is combined with this. It will do pretty well. The ambient occlusion, however, has to be changed. Because again, things changed. Okay, something like this. Actually, this is a little too much, maybe. Just darken it. Kind of like this, maybe. To be perfectly honest with you, this will not do that much of a difference. Because it's not something you can totally see. So, yeah. Not a big difference here. However, where the difference will actually be... What happened here? This should have been the dirt mask. It's not looking too good. Why is that? Let me get in the body. The main body. So the dirt mask actually had quite a lot of colors. Quite a lot of nodes, sorry. I either didn't select everything, either Either just got dumb. I'm not sure what to tell you. Both things are a big possibility, honestly. So I'm gonna delete all of this. Put it right back in. And now we have to kind of remember where they were actually going. So, yeah. Fun things. And it's going right here for sure. This goes also right here for sure. And of course it's not gonna work perfectly well, because well, it can't really. It actually should. Wait. This is doing this. Oh, no, it does. It does work. Good. And this is actually putting... I don't remember what it was. Was this a sticker mask? These were the scratches. These were the scratches, right? The scratches are actually doing their shit. So also they should work pretty well already. We should actually get to see it. And they do! They are doing their job. Of course, I'll put some leakage imperfections. I'll put some more of that. This will be in the next video. So here are the two textures right now. This is just for the body alone, of course, as you can actually tell. And probably a lot of you will, you know, come and say, it's not a fair comparison since, you know, I spent way more time in the Quixel Mixer one to actually refine it. However, I will actually compare the two right now. A little bit at least. Because even though, yes, I did totally spend more time in the Quixel Mixer one, I have two advantages with the Blender. First things first, I have a better understanding of how I want these textures to look. Secondly, I know how to use Blender much better than I can and use Quixel Mixer. So I do have an advantage, let's call it the home field advantage, with Blender. And I would personally say, of course, this is my preference at this point in time at least. Here we actually are at the end of the fucking video. It actually took a little bit. I hope you did actually find this interesting, and I hope you actually are excited as a Blender user because you maybe have not known of some of these videos. Please don't forget, some of the ideas I had are actually from Kaizen tutorials, because that's where I learned those from. So please check his channel out if you're actually here. Also check out SouthernShotty because again he gives us some free stuff as well. I hope the trick with Quixel Mixer did actually help you. It totally helped me when I found that out because it changed quite a bit the way I worked. And of course I hope that you actually will pick up any of these two. Again, my personal opinion, use a mix of both. Never use one when you can actually use both, and you know, the collaboration between Mixer and Blender, I think it's best. But with that actually being said, I thank you so much for the support because really, I know I promised I will do a lot of stuff. I still have to put out the textures for the train video, I know. I will do that, I promise. Next week I should actually have a free week, not from filming, from my job. So hopefully it's gonna be enough time for me to actually go bake all the textures for the train. This is kind of what I want to do. Also bake the textures and make a little bit of a presentation for Scream Team's first texture, which I still want to give away. So next week is going to come for sure. The train is not as sure. So Scream Team definitely. And of course, it's the procedural fence. It's still coming, I promise. But I am actually waiting a little bit because I have a special video for that. So that's kind of what I'm waiting for. I hope you're not gonna be mad at me for doing this. It's just I thought about it way later, and when I realized it, it was like, yeah, that actually kind of makes sense. So let's do it that way. So without further ado, I know this was a long video. I hope again it helped you. Please stick around till the end because they're actually the bloopers. So I did actually face a lot of issues. I forgot some of the ways to do stuff. I was just stupid in some of the other stuff, and I think you will have a pretty good laugh at myself. I totally did, so I would hope you also enjoy that part as well. With this being said, again, thank you so much for sticking till the end of this video. Thank you so much, even if you clicked at this point to see the conclusion of this video. I do think the texture got really well. I still have it right here, I watch it, and I really think it went pretty good. Thanks to Polygon and Blender Kit for actually having such good textures for free, because honestly they're super awesome. And with this being said, please follow me, like this video if you liked it, if you like the content, and also comment down below if you actually like the Blender texture more than the Quicksilver Mixer one, and which is your favorite texturing program, by the way. With this being said, thank you again so much. I hope you have a great day, and I hope you wait for your weekend, because I totally wait for it myself. And don't forget about a Gamers Weekend. This time we're actually going to have a really spicy and, in my opinion, super interesting episode, so I can't wait for it. Bye, guys. Blender! So fun.